I think I didn't do anything wrong. Just lived my truth for once. But now I'm sitting here, divorce papers in my hand, and everyone thinks I'm the villain. I never thought one night, and one choice, would cost me my husband and everything I built. My name is Evade Bly, and 6 months ago, I had what I thought was a perfect life. A quiet suburban home, a steady job in HR, a husband who provided stability, and a 7-year-old son who lit up every room. But perfection, I learned, can feel like a prison when you're 34 and wondering if this is all there is. The problems started small, the way they always do. Neil, my husband of 9 years, had grown distant after our latest argument about money. He'd throw himself into grading papers and helping our son Shay with homework, leaving me to handle everything else. I felt invisible in my own home. "You never want to do anything fun anymore," I told him one evening as he sat hunched over his laptop, red pen in hand. "When's the last time we went out? When's the last time you even looked at me?" Niall glanced up, his brown eyes tired behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Evadne, I'm trying to finish these essays. Can we talk about this later? There's always something, isn't there?" I snapped. "Work, Shay. Your family. Everything comes before me." He closed the laptop with a sigh. "That's not fair. You know I care about you." "Do I? Because from where I'm sitting, I'm just the woman who does your laundry and splits the bills." The silence stretched between us like a chasm. Niall had always been quiet, methodical in his responses, but lately his silence felt like judgment, like he was cataloging my complaints and finding them wanting. "I'm going out with Farah tonight," I announced, grabbing my purse. "Don't wait up." I caught his reflection in the hallway mirror as I left, watching me from the window with an expression I couldn't read. That should have been my first warning. At the wine bar downtown, my sister Farah listened to my complaints with the sympathy I craved. At 29, she was still single, still living the life I sometimes envied. Spontaneous dinners, dating apps, the freedom to reinvent herself whenever she pleased. "You're too young to feel this old," she said, refilling my glass. "Niall's a good guy, but maybe he's gotten too comfortable. Maybe you both have. His sister Lydia thinks I'm the problem," I confided. "She's always watching me, like she's waiting for me to mess up." "Lydia's just jealous. She's 31 and still single, living in her brother's shadow. Of course she wants to find fault with you." That night, I sent a text I'd been thinking about for weeks. Troy Penman worked in the marketing department at my company. Charming, single, and everything Niall wasn't. Where my husband was careful with words, Troy was effortlessly witty. Where Neil dressed in practical khakis and button-downs, Troy wore clothes that looked expensive and fit perfectly. "Need an escape tonight," I typed, then deleted it, then typed it again. His response came quickly. "I know just the place." The family dinner the following Sunday was tense. Marina, Neil's mother, had made her famous roast, and Stephen, his father, dominated the conversation with stories from his accounting firm. Lydia sat across from me, her dark eyes, so much like Niall's, watching my every move. "Evadne seems distracted lately," she said during dessert, her tone carefully neutral. "Everything okay? Just work stress," I replied, forcing a smile. "You know how it is." "Actually, I don't. I work from home." Lydia's smile was equally forced. "Must be nice having so many colleagues to decompress with." The comment hit too close to home. I felt heat rise in my cheeks. Niall works with people too. Maybe he should try decompressing once in a while, instead of bringing work home every night. "Evadne," Neil said quietly, a warning in his voice. "What?" "It's true. When's the last time you did anything spontaneous? When's the last time you surprised me?" The table fell silent. 7-year-old Shay looked between his parents with confused eyes. Marina cleared her throat and began collecting plates. "Some people show love through stability," Stephen said firmly, "through providing and being dependable. And some people need more than that," I shot back. Lydia's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then at me, her expression unreadable. Later, as we were leaving, she pulled Niall aside. I couldn't hear what she said, but I saw the way his shoulders tensed. That night, I texted Troy again. "Family dinner from hell. Could use that escape you mentioned." "Tomorrow," he replied. "I'll make it worth the wait." The downtown bar Troy chose was dimly lit and intimate, the kind of place where conversations stayed private and wedding rings could be easily hidden. I'd told Niall I was having dinner with Farah, a lie that came easier than it should have. "You look incredible," Troy said as I slid into the booth across from him. "That dress is perfect on you." I'd chosen it carefully, a black wrap dress that flattered my figure without being too obvious. Thank you, it's nice to be appreciated. Trouble at home? He asked, signaling the waitress for another round. My husband thinks marriage means you stop trying. Stop noticing each other. The wine was making me bold. He acts like I should be grateful for boring. Troy leaned forward, his blue eyes intense. You're not boring, Evadi. You're dynamic, intelligent, beautiful. Any man who can't see that doesn't deserve you. The words I'd been craving from Neil poured from Troy's lips like honey. We talked for hours, about work, about dreams, about the lives we'd imagined for ourselves. When he walked me to my car, his hand lingered on my waist. I had an amazing time tonight, he said. Me too. My heart was racing. We should do this again, soon, I nodded, not trusting my voice. When he leaned in to kiss my cheek, I turned my head slightly, and our lips met instead. It was brief, electric, and completely wrong. The next morning, guilt sat heavy in my stomach as I made breakfast. Niall was already dressed for work, checking his phone while Shay chattered about a school project. How was dinner with Farah? Niall asked without looking up. Fine. We went to that new Italian place. The lie slipped out smoothly. You were asleep when I got home. It was pretty late. There was something in his tone. Not accusation, exactly, but awareness. We had a lot to catch up on. You know how sisters are. Shay looked up from his cereal. Can I come next time? I like Aunt Farah. It was grown-up talk, sweetheart, I said, ruffling his dark hair. Maybe next weekend we can all do something together. But even as I said it, I was thinking about Troy's text from that morning. Can't stop thinking about last night. Lunch today? At work, I found myself checking my reflection more often, choosing my outfits more carefully. Troy would stop by my desk with questions that could have been emails, lingering to chat about weekend plans or office gossip. The attention was intoxicating. Someone's got a spring in her step, my colleague Janet commented. New skincare routine? Just feeling good lately, I replied. But I caught Troy's knowing smile from across the room. Our lunch dates became regular occurrences. Troy was everything Niall wasn't, spontaneous, flirtatious, completely focused on me when we were together. He made me feel like the most interesting woman in the world. Your husband's crazy if he doesn't worship the ground you walk on, he said over salads at a trendy bistro. Niall's practical. He shows love through actions, not words. What kind of actions? Troy's skepticism was clear. I thought about it. Niall's quiet morning coffees, the way he always filled my gas tank, how he never complained about my late nights or questioned my expenses. But those things felt mundane next to Troy's passionate attention. He takes care of things, I said finally. But he doesn't make me feel alive. You deserve to feel alive, Evadne. You deserve passion. That evening, Lydia called while I was making dinner. We need to talk, she said without preamble. About what? I kept my voice light, but my pulse quickened. I think you know. Actually, I don't. If you have something to say, say it. There was a long pause. I saw your car outside Chez Laurent last Tuesday. The same night you told Niall you were with Farah. My mouth went dry. I don't know what you're implying. I'm not implying anything. I'm stating facts. Farah was at her yoga class that night. I checked. You checked. Anger flared in my chest. Who do you think you are, spying on me? Someone who cares about her brother. Someone who can see what's happening even if he can't. Nothing is happening. I had dinner alone because I needed space to think. Is that a crime? At a romantic restaurant? Dressed like you were on a date? I can dress however I want. I can eat wherever I want, and I don't owe you or anyone else an explanation. I hung up before she could respond, my hands shaking with fury and fear. That night, I deleted her message without reading it and went to meet Troy for drinks, telling myself I was proving a point about my freedom. The next few weeks blurred together in a haze of secret meetings and mounting tension at home. Troy and I had moved beyond innocent lunches to stolen kisses in empty conference rooms and increasingly intimate text exchanges. I told myself we were just friends, that I deserved this attention, that Niall's emotional distance had driven me to it. At home, the atmosphere grew colder. Niall spoke to me in polite, measured tones, the way he might address a difficult parent during conferences. He focused on Shay, on his lesson plans, on everything except me. Are you punishing me for something? I asked him one evening as he loaded the dishwasher with methodical precision. Punishing you? No, Evadne. I'm just trying to keep things stable for our son. What's that supposed to mean? He paused, a plate in his hands. It means I'm tired of fighting. I'm tired of being made to feel like everything I do is wrong. I never said. You don't have to say it. It's in every sigh, every eye roll, every comment about how boring I am. He closed the dishwasher with careful control. So I'm giving you the space you seem to want. The space I wanted was supposed to make him fight for me, not retreat further. His calm acceptance felt like rejection, pushing me deeper into Troy's arms. At the office, I became bolder. I laughed louder at Troy's jokes, lingered longer at his desk, let him walk me to my car with his hand on my lower back. The attention from other colleagues was a drug, some disapproving, others envious, all aware that something was happening. "Girl, you're playing with fire," Janet warned me during a coffee break. "Troy's got a reputation." "For what?" I asked, though I didn't really want to know. "For being charming until he gets what he wants, then moving on to the next challenge." "We're just friends," I lied. "Friends don't look at each other like that. And friends don't risk their marriages for lunch dates." But I was past caring about risks. The thrill of being desired, of being chosen, was worth any consequence I could imagine. The breaking point came at Stephen and Marina's anniversary barbecue. The whole family was there, aunts, uncles, cousins, all gathered in the backyard of the house where Niall had grown up. I wore a sundress that hugged my curves, styled my hair in loose waves, and felt beautiful for the first time in months. Lydia watched me like a hawk, her disapproval radiating across the patio. Marina tried to keep conversation light, asking about work and Shay's school activities. Stephen manned the grill with military precision, occasionally glancing at his son with concern. "You look lovely, dear," Marina said as she handed me a glass of lemonade. "That dress is very flattering." "Thank you. It's new." I caught Lydia's eye roll and felt a flash of defiance. I decided to treat myself. Life's too short not to feel beautiful. "Of course it is," Marina agreed, but there was something careful in her tone. Later, as the men gathered around the grill and the children played in the yard, the women sat in a circle of lawn chairs. The conversation turned to marriage, as it often did among the older relatives. "The secret to a long marriage," Aunt Helen was saying, "is never going to bed angry and keeping the romance alive," added Cousin Beth. "Date nights, little surprises. You have to keep courting each other. Some of us are lucky if our husbands remember we exist," I said with a laugh that sounded bitter even to my own ears. "Romance dies when you take each other for granted." The circle fell uncomfortably quiet. Marina glanced toward the grill where Niall was standing with his father, their heads bent in serious conversation. "Niall's always been thoughtful," Marina said carefully. "He shows love in quiet ways." "Quiet ways don't exactly set a woman's heart racing," I replied. "Sometimes a girl needs to feel desired, not just tolerated." Lydia set down her drink with a sharp clink. "Maybe the problem isn't how love is shown, but how it's received." "Meaning what, exactly?" "Meaning some people are so busy looking for what they don't have, they miss what's right in front of them. Easy to say when you're not in a marriage that feels more like a business partnership. At least it's a partnership built on respect and commitment," Lydia shot back. "Not everyone gets that luxury." The tension was thick enough to cut. Marina stood abruptly, muttering about checking on the children. Other relatives found excuses to drift away, leaving Lydia and me facing each other across the space where family harmony used to be. "You think you know everything," I said quietly. "But you've never been married. You don't know what it's like to feel invisible in your own life." "You're right. I don't know what it's like to be married. But I know what it's like to watch someone I love get hurt by someone who's supposed to cherish them. I'm not hurting anyone. I'm just trying to find some happiness." "At whose expense?" Before I could answer, Shay came running over, his face flushed from playing tag with his cousins. "Mommy, can we get ice cream on the way home, please?" I forced a smile, running my fingers through his sweaty hair. "Of course, baby, whatever you want." But as I looked around the patio, at the strained faces of Neil's family, I realized that what I wanted might cost more than I was prepared to pay. And that night, after Shay was asleep, Neil sat at the kitchen table with a stack of papers. Bills, I assumed, until I saw him photographing something with his phone. "What are you doing?" I asked. He looked up, his expression unreadable. "Just organizing some paperwork." But something in his tone made my stomach clench. I thought about the phone bill, about the late-night calls to Troy, about all the small lies that had seemed so harmless in isolation. "Niall, is everything okay?" "Everything's fine, Avad. Just fine." He gathered the papers and left the room, leaving me alone with a growing sense that my carefully constructed double life was about to collapse. The explosion came on a Tuesday night in early October. I'd just returned from another dinner with Farah, actually drinks with Troy, at a hotel bar where he'd suggested we get a room. I'd said no, but barely, and the almost betrayal left me feeling reckless and guilty in equal measure. Niall was waiting in the living room, still dressed in his teaching clothes, but with his tie loosened and his sleeves rolled up. Shay was nowhere to be seen, which should have been my second warning. "How was Farah?" he asked, without looking up from his phone. "Fine. Good. We had Thai food and talked about her new job." The lies came automatically now, smooth as silk. Interesting. Because Farah posted on Instagram an hour ago, from her apartment, cooking dinner alone. My blood turned to ice. Maybe she posted an old photo. You know how social media is. Maybe. He finally looked at me, and something in his eyes made my knees weak. Or maybe you were somewhere else entirely. "Niall, what are you trying to say?" He stood up slowly, pulling his phone from his pocket. "I'm trying to say that I know about Troy Penman." The name hit me like a physical blow. "I don't know what you think you know, but I know you've been calling him at all hours. I know you've been meeting him for lunch, for drinks, for whatever else you've been doing." His voice was still quiet, still controlled, but there was steel underneath. "I know you've been lying to me for months." It's not what you think." The words sounded pathetic even to me. "Then tell me what it is. Tell me why my wife has been sneaking around with another man. We're friends." He listens to me. He makes me feel what? Alive? Special? All the things your boring husband doesn't do? The accuracy of his words hit like a slap. "You don't understand. You've been so distant, so cold. I felt like I didn't even exist in this house." "So you found someone who made you feel like you existed?" "Yes. God, yes. Is that so wrong? To want to feel desired? To want someone to actually see me? I saw you, Evadne. I saw you every day. I saw you when I made your coffee in the morning, when I filled your gas tank, when I picked up your dry cleaning. I saw you when I listened to you complain about your job, your family, your life. I saw you when I held you, when you cried about your father's death. I saw you." Tears were streaming down my face now. "That's not the same thing. You're right. It's not. What I gave you was real. What he's giving you is an illusion. You don't know him. I know he's married." The words hit like a thunderbolt. "What?" "Troy Penman. Divorced 2 years ago. Has a girlfriend in the city." "Did he mention her during your heart-to-heart conversations?" The room spun around me. "That's not. He said he was single. Men like that always do." Niall's voice was gentler now, almost pitying. "They tell you whatever you want to hear." Footsteps on the stairs made us both turn. Shay appeared in his pajamas, rubbing his eyes. "Why are you guys yelling? I can't sleep." "We're not yelling, sweetheart," I said quickly, wiping my face. "Daddy and I were just talking." "You were talking loud." His 7-year-old logic was unassailable. "Are you fighting again?" Niall knelt down to Shay's level. "Sometimes grown-ups have disagreements, buddy. But we both love you very much, okay?" "Okay." Shay looked between us with worried eyes. "Can you fight quieter next time?" "We'll try," Niall promised, scooping him up. "Let's get you back to bed." After Niall tucked Shay in, he came back downstairs with a duffel bag in his hand. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Shay and I are going to stay at my parents' house for a while." "You can't just take him. He's my son too." "He's our son, and he doesn't need to be in the middle of this mess while we figure things out." "There's nothing to figure out. I made a mistake, okay? I got caught up in something that didn't mean anything." "Didn't it?" He paused at the door. "Because from where I stand, it meant everything. It meant more than your marriage, more than your family, more than the life we built together." "That's not true. Then why didn't you stop? Why didn't you come to me when you felt lonely, instead of going to him?" I had no answer for that. Or rather, I had an answer I couldn't say, because Troy made me feel like the woman I used to be, before marriage and motherhood and responsibility wore me down to nothing. "I'll be back tomorrow for more of Shay's things," Niall said. "We can talk about next steps then." After he left, I sat in the empty house and called Troy. It went straight to voicemail. I called again. Same result. Finally, I texted, "Need to talk. It's important." His reply came an hour later. "Busy tonight. Talk tomorrow." For the first time, I wondered if Neil was right about the kind of man Troy really was. The next morning, I woke up to find a thick envelope on the kitchen table. legal paperwork, separation agreement, custody arrangements. My hands shook as I read through the pages of legal language that reduced our 9-year marriage to assets and obligations. Niall had been thorough: bank accounts, property division, child support calculations. Everything organized with the methodical precision I'd once found suffocating, and now realized was his way of taking care of things. Taking care of us. Even when I'd betrayed him, he was still trying to protect our son, still trying to be fair. I called in sick to work and spent the day crying on the couch, surrounded by the debris of the life I'd thrown away for a few months of feeling special. The law office smelled like leather and disappointment. Niall sat across from me at a polished conference table, flanked by his attorney, a sharp-eyed woman named Patricia Chen, who looked like she'd eaten cheating spouses for breakfast. My own lawyer, a kind-faced man named Robert Mills, had tried to prepare me for this meeting, but nothing could have readied me for the cold efficiency with which my marriage was being dissected. Mrs. Blah, Patricia began. My client is prepared to be generous in the property division, despite the circumstances that led to this separation. What circumstances? I asked, though I knew exactly what she meant. She slid a folder across the table. Phone records showing extensive communication with Mr. Troy Penman. Credit card statements showing charges at restaurants and bars during times you told your husband you were elsewhere. Social media posts that contradict your stated whereabouts. My stomach dropped as I opened the folder. Months of evidence, meticulously organized. Dates, times, locations, a complete timeline of my deception. This doesn't prove anything inappropriate happened, I said weakly. Doesn't it? Patricia's smile was razor-thin. Mr. Penman has provided a written statement confirming the nature of your relationship. He what? The words came out as a whisper. Another document slid across the table. Troy's signature at the bottom, his statement brief and clinical. I confirm that Mrs. Evadne Bly and I engaged in an extramarital affair from approximately August through October of this year. The relationship was initiated by Mrs. Bly and included both emotional and physical intimacy. Physical intimacy. The kisses, the touches, the night I'd almost said yes to the hotel room. All reduced to legal terminology and filed as evidence. He's lying, I said, but even I could hear how hollow it sounded. Are you prepared to testify to that under oath? Patricia asked. Because Mr. Penman is. I looked at Niall, hoping to see some softness in his face, some sign of the man who used to hold me when I had nightmares. But his expression was impassive, professional. He'd already moved on. What do you want? I asked. Primary custody of Shay, Niall said quietly. You can have him every other weekend and one evening per week. Supervised visits until we see how things settle. Supervised? He's my son. He's also a 7-year-old who's been asking why mommy lies about where she goes at night, Niall replied. He deserves stability. The next hour was a blur of negotiations and ultimatums. The house would be sold, proceeds split evenly. I could keep my car, my personal belongings, half of our savings. Niall would take responsibility for Shay's health insurance and school expenses. It was fair. More than fair, considering the circumstances. But fairness felt like a knife in my chest when what I wanted was forgiveness. I can contest this, I told Robert during a break. Fight for joint custody. You could, he agreed. But Mrs. Bly, I have to ask, do you really want to put your son through a custody battle? Do you want these details aired in open court? The thought of Shay learning about my affair, of his classmates' parents whispering about his mother's infidelity, made me sick. What if I refused to sign? Then Mr. Bly files for divorce on grounds of adultery, and things get much less pleasant for everyone involved. That evening, I sat in my sister's apartment. The separation agreement spread across her coffee table like a death certificate. Maybe this is for the best, Farah said gently. Maybe you both need a fresh start. I don't want a fresh start. I want my family back. Did you want them when you were sneaking around with Troy? The question hung in the air between us. The honest answer was complicated. I'd wanted the excitement Troy offered and the security Niall provided. I'd wanted to be desired and cherished without giving up the comfortable life I'd built. I'd wanted everything. Troy won't return my calls, I admitted. I haven't heard from him since Niall found out. Farah's expression softened with pity. Oh, honey, he was never going to leave his girlfriend for you. You were just an adventure. But he said what you wanted to hear. What men like that always say. I thought about Troy's passionate declarations, his promises that I deserved better, his insistence that what we had was special. Had any of it been real, Or was I just another conquest in his collection? My phone buzzed with a text from Marina. Can we talk? Just the two of us? We met at a quiet cafe near her house, neutral territory where we could speak without the weight of family loyalty pressing down on us. Marina looked older than I remembered, worry lines etched deeper around her kind eyes. I keep thinking there's something I could have done, she said after we'd ordered coffee. Some way I could have helped before it got to this point. This isn't your fault, Marina. It's mine. Is it, though? Or did we all fail you somehow? Did we make you feel unwelcome in the family? No, you are wonderful. You are wonderful. I got lost somewhere along the way. Niall's devastated, you know. He's trying to be strong for Shay, but I see how he looks when he thinks no one's watching, like someone died. Guilt twisted in my stomach. I never meant to hurt him. But you did hurt him, and more than that, you humiliated him. The whole family knows, Evadne. The whole neighborhood. His colleagues at school are talking. I hadn't considered that. The ripple effects of my choices spreading out beyond our marriage to touch everyone in Niall's orbit. The whispers in the teacher's lounge, the awkward silences at family gatherings, the way people would look at him with pity. I was selfish, I whispered. Yes, you were. But selfishness can be forgiven. It's the lying that's unforgivable. The months of deception, the way you made him doubt his own instincts. I know. Do you? Because even now, part of you seems to think this is something that happened to you instead of something you chose. Her words hit like a physical blow because they were true. Even in my guilt and remorse, I'd been casting myself as a victim of Niall's emotional distance, of Troy's manipulation, of circumstances beyond my control. What do I do now? I asked. You sign the papers. You let Niall rebuild his life, and you figure out how to be the mother Shay deserves, even if you couldn't be the wife Niall deserved. That night, I signed the separation agreement with tears streaming down my face, each signature feeling like another nail in the coffin of the life I'd destroyed. The courthouse was a monument to consequences, gray stone and marble columns that seemed designed to make people feel small. I sat on a bench outside the family court, watching other couples navigate their own disasters while waiting for my turn to make mine official. Niall arrived with Patricia, both of them dressed in conservative suits that made them look like the responsible adults in this scenario, which, I supposed, they were. Lydia was with them, her presence a reminder that I was no longer part of the family that had once embraced me. Mrs. Bly, Patricia nodded as they approached. Are you ready to proceed? I nodded, not trusting my voice. Robert had prepared me for this moment, but preparation felt inadequate when faced with the reality of ending my marriage in a room full of strangers. The judge was a middle-aged woman, with steel gray hair and eyes that had seen every variation of human failure. She reviewed our paperwork with practiced efficiency, occasionally asking questions about custody arrangements and property division. Bly, she said finally, do you understand that by agreeing to these terms, you're accepting primary custody of your son going to your husband? Yes, Your Honor. The words tasted like ashes. And you understand that this decision is based on the evidence of extramarital conduct that destabilized the family home? Yes, Your Honor. Do you have anything you'd like to say before I approve this agreement? I looked at Niall, hoping for some sign that there was still a chance to fix this. But his face was composed, final. He'd already grieved our marriage and moved on. I'm sorry, I said quietly, for all of it. The judge's expression softened slightly. I'm sure you are, Mrs. Bly. But sorry doesn't undo the consequences of our choices. She signed the papers with decisive strokes, making our separation official. Shay would live with his father. I would see him on alternate weekends and Wednesday evenings, supervised by a court-appointed monitor, until I could demonstrate emotional stability. Outside the courthouse, Lydia hugged her brother, while I stood alone, clutching my copy of the custody order. Marina approached hesitantly, her maternal instincts warring with family loyalty. Take care of yourself, Evadne, she said softly, and take care of our grandson. Stephen shook Niall's hand with obvious pride. His son had handled an impossible situation with dignity and strength, protecting his child while refusing to be vindictive toward the woman who'd betrayed him. You did the right thing, I heard him tell Niall. The boy needs stability. As they walked away, my former family, united in their support of the man I'd lost, I felt the full weight of what I'd traded away. Not just a husband, but an entire network of people who'd loved and accepted me. A place in the world where I belonged. My phone rang as I stood on the courthouse steps, watching Niall drive away with the life I'd once shared. Troy's name appeared on the screen, the first time he'd called since everything fell apart. I stared at the phone, remembering his passionate words about how I deserved better, how my husband didn't appreciate me, how what we had was special. All the things I'd wanted to believe when I was looking for justification to betray my vows. The phone kept ringing, but I didn't answer. Whatever Troy wanted to say now, apology, explanation, or another lie, it was too late. The damage was done, the consequences set in motion. I let the call go to voicemail and walked to my car alone, finally understanding that some choices can't be undone, no matter how much we regret them. 6 months later, I sit in my small apartment, surrounded by the fragments of my former life. The divorce is final now, the custody arrangement permanent. Shay visits every other weekend, and I treasure those brief glimpses of the family I destroyed. He's adjusting well, his therapist says. Children are resilient, but sometimes I catch him looking at me with questions he's too young to ask. Why did you leave Daddy? Why can't we all live together anymore? Why did everything change? Neil has been scrupulously fair in all our interactions, never speaking badly about me in front of Shay, never using our son as a weapon. He's even started dating a fellow teacher named Claire, who makes Shay laugh and doesn't seem to judge him for his complicated past. I should be happy that he's moving on, that he's found someone who appreciates the quiet strength I took for granted. Instead, I feel like I'm watching my replacement live the life I threw away. Troy never left a voicemail that day at the courthouse. I heard through office gossip that he'd been transferred to another branch, something about maintaining professional boundaries. His girlfriend never knew about me, apparently. I was just a secret that got too complicated to maintain. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd made different choices. If I'd talked to Niall about feeling invisible instead of seeking validation elsewhere. If I'd fought for my marriage instead of fighting against it. If I'd remembered that love isn't always passionate and overwhelming. Sometimes it's quiet and steady and easy to overlook until it's gone. But regret is a luxury I can't afford now. I have to focus on being the mother Shay deserves, on rebuilding some version of a life that doesn't revolve around what I've lost. The divorce papers sit in a file cabinet, official proof that some mistakes can't be forgiven, only survived. I thought I was living my truth when I chose excitement over stability, passion over commitment. Now I know the truth is simpler and more painful. I had everything I needed, and I threw it away for the illusion of something better. I'm not the victim in this story, no matter how I tried to cast myself in that role. I'm the woman who chose temporary pleasure over permanent love, who valued being desired over being cherished, who mistook attention for affection. I'm the bride without a groom, the mother with supervised visits, the woman who proved her freedom by losing everything that mattered. And I have no one to blame but myself. Stuarena. October 22nd, 2025, 19 hours, 19 minutes, and 14 seconds.